All right, well, let's get started. Sam, do you want to spotlight me? Or yeah, I guess I can spotlight myself. There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Meg Pierce. I'm the executive director of the State League. So excited to be here with you this evening to talk about internship programs. This is the last of our local league capacity building sessions for now. But I'd like to remind our local league leaders that all of these informational sessions are recorded and they're on our league management page. And there's tons of resources there, everything from how do you use organizational social media, how do you do fundraising as a local league. So we hope you found this program valuable, and we know that we've really enjoyed putting them together and hearing from you about what you need. So without further ado, let's get started. Tonight's presentation is about building an internship program. And there are so many benefits of building an internship program as a local league. First and foremost, it's really an opportunity to get to know maybe the younger members of your community. And ultimately, those could be younger, more diverse members that, folks that become members of your league. It's an opportunity to attract more younger talent as well. So if you find that you're struggling to maintain younger members or to grow your membership, building an internship program is a great way to introduce your league to younger folks in your area. And they're also going to bring lots of new ideas and experiences, which, as we know, as league members, is always quite valuable. Interns will also add additional capacity for your league for specific projects. So I know that different leagues have different levels of capacity on their boards. Some have a pretty robust board infrastructure with lots of volunteers. Some just have a few board members and have more limited time to take on projects. So having an intern will really allow you some consistency in the work that your league's able to do. And finally, this is an opportunity to mentor and to offer students or young recent graduates the opportunity to get some professional experience. As many of you know, when young folks these days are headed into the workforce, many of them are required to have had additional work experience. And a lot of them will get that through internships like this, where they can come in maybe with not a lot of experience, but grow and develop and build their skill set with your league. Next slide. So I'm going to break down each of these steps to building a successful internship program as we go. But just to give you an idea of where we're going, these are the steps for building a successful program. The first is to decide the areas in which your league could use support. So do you need voter services help? Do you need fundraising assistance? Next, decide what capacity your league has to supervise an intern, because an intern doesn't just come in and know exactly what to do. They really are going to need someone's time to make sure they're on the right track. Third, establish a realistic time frame and set some realistic goals for the internship. So if you know, for example, that you want someone to help you during the November general elections, you're going to want an intern to work for you realistically during the fall semester. We'll get more into that in a later slide. Next, we encourage you to develop your internship description, which has the expectations of the role, using a DEI lens, and to share that description widely. Then we invite you to develop a fair and transparent hiring process, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. And finally, you'll want to make sure that your intern is having a good experience. So that means developing consistent feedback processes and also allowing time at the end for an end of experience review or a mid-experience review, just to make sure that your league is getting the most out of the experience and that your intern is also meeting the goals that they set out for themselves at the beginning of the internship. Next slide. So first we'll start to break these down. So when your league decides, hey, we need an intern, there's a lot that goes into that. So your league could need support or additional capacity in a lot of different areas. The State League, for example, has hired interns to support voter services, to support development and operations, to support our membership and our equity work, and to support policy and communications. And our funding for all of these positions has varied, but these are the key areas that we've pretty consistently sought to hire in. And then secondly, you're going to want to decide who will supervise your intern. We've found that having at least one person that the intern can directly report to is most effective. Especially if your intern is younger, say in high school, they're going to require some guidance. They're not going to immediately know what's needed and what to do. So the clearer you can define what's needed, what's expected in terms of projects, and knowing that that intern has someone to go to for questions or product updates, the better. Next slide. So then you're going to want to establish a timeline and goals. So hiring should really begin in advance as much as possible. Students especially tend to start looking for their internships for the next semester a couple of months in advance. So if you're looking for a January start date for your intern, you're going to want to start looking to hire around the Thanksgiving holidays, so 1 to 2 months in advance. And you'll want to determine with your league the time frame for when your intern will be with you. So here at the State League, we tend to hire 3 different times during the year. We'll hire for the spring semester, which runs from January to May, the fall semester, which runs from May to December, and the summer semester, which can include, the summer off. So May, June, July, August, kind of depending how you want to frame that. You could also consider hiring around election cycles, but just be aware that, especially if your intern is in school, they're going to have, finals, they're going to have work to do, and hiring via the school schedule tends to be a little bit easier. And then you'll want to establish goals. So here's some example goals for an internship. So for example, you could have an intern who's in charge of managing your Vote 411 data. They could be supporting and planning community events, publishing them, staffing them, bringing resources to them. They could do more research. So maybe your league is interested in writing a white paper or doing some policy research. An intern could support with that. Social media is a great thing that an intern can manage. Odds are an intern might have more experience with social media and could be comfortable, posting on your league's Facebook and Twitter or Instagram kind of updates about your work. And they can also help write. So if you have a newsletter, an internship can help kind of put that together monthly. Maybe you're interested in having some support for development, like having your intern at a fundraising appeals. So there's a whole host of things that your intern could do. And the best way to ensure you get a quality candidate who has skills in those areas or wants to grow in that area is to be as explicit as possible when you're establishing those goals and to put those goals directly in the job description. Next slide. So next, this segues very nicely into developing that internship description. So in your internship description, you should have a couple of key things. And we'll go over in a little bit, just a sample internship description that the State League has put out. But first and foremost, it should introduce the league. So it should tell who you are, what you do in really clear, concise language. Not everyone knows what the League of Women Voters is. They might have heard of it, but they don't really know that we're a nonpartisan organization that focuses on voting rights and policy advocacy. And getting a really clear, concise idea of who you are right at the top will definitely capture the attention of whoever's reading your description. So clear, concise synthesization of, I don't think synthesization is a word, summary of what the league does. Next, you're going to want to include your DEI and nonpartisan policies. So making it really clear up front that your league thinks about equity and inclusion in all the ways that you do your work. And also make it really explicit that, while your intern can have, their own political leanings, the work that they do for the league will be nonpartisan. And I definitely recommend linking directly in your job description to those policies so that a potential intern can just have those as references. Next, you're going to describe the position with specific examples of activities. So we listed some of those in the previous slides, but say this is a voter services position. The position description could include managing Vote 411, planning 2 voter registration drives in your community, developing voter services postcards, and coordinating a mailer. So those could all be specific examples of activities that this internship would handle. Next, you're going to want to describe the qualifications of an intern. Now in here, I invite you to really think critically about the qualifications that you're looking for. Depending on how old your intern is, whether they're in high school, college, or grad school, they're going to have different levels of experience, and they're really going to want to probably grow in their experience through your league. So you shouldn't set the bar so high that, college students, high school students don't feel like they have the capacity to apply. And part of that is to define your must-have experience versus your preferred but not required experience. So for example, if you're hiring a communications intern, you know that your intern will be managing your league social media. Must-have experience would probably be experience using social media before, whether as a personal usage or on behalf of an organization, versus preferred experience, but not required. So for example, you could prefer to have an intern that speaks a language other than English, like Cantonese or Spanish, but that's not required experience. And the more that you state what's preferred versus required, what's required, the more welcome an intern might feel to apply. So if they see, there's 5 requirements and they don't meet any of them, but they're not really requirements, you're just going to lay that out really clearly so that folks feel welcome to apply. Next, you should include the application submission requirements and a firm deadline to apply. So if you want to see a resume, a cover letter, and a writing sample, you should put that in there. And then also have a firm deadline to apply that gives yourself enough time to interview candidates. So if you're looking 2 months out, maybe you have the posting up for a month and a half, and that gives you about 2 weeks to do some interviews. You can also just have rolling deadlines. So you'll keep accepting submissions until you get the qualified candidate that you want to hire. And then last, it's really important to include if the position is paid and how much. That's an issue of transparency. You're going to want your potential intern to know whether the position is paid. You don't want to, waste their time going through the interview process only to find out that, they really need a paid position to support themselves at college, for example. And if the position isn't paid, they really don't have the time or the capacity for it. So putting that up front is very important. Next slide. So yeah, let's go over a sample internship description, and we'll just give Sam a minute to pull that up.
I see now that was the link.
That was the link. Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Awesome. Sam, could you make that a little bit bigger? Perfect. Thank you. So here is a position description for our Policy and Communications Fellowship, which we just filled for the spring semester, which was very exciting. So up front, we have, a very professional looking league logo with a description, with a position title and the timeline and when it would start. And then we have the description of the league up top, followed by a little bit about the fellowship experience, kind of what you're looking for, what the fellow will be coming into at the time. Then we have our commitment to equity, so our DEI policy. And then after that, if you scroll down, Sam, we have our nonpartisan policy, and then the position descriptions and expectations. So I think this is really important. So here we really break out what specific activities the fellow will do and the skills that they need. So you can see towards the bottom of the following skills column, we have that, the experience that's preferred but not required. So towards the end, we have experience with Squarespace is preferred but not required. So that's our website building. That's our website hosting platform. Experience with Canva, which is a free graphic making tool, is preferred but not required. Language skills beyond English are preferred but not required. So again, inviting students with those skills to apply, but knowing that just because they haven't actually done that doesn't mean they can't be trained or it's a requirement for the position. All right, let's go back to the slide. Sam, take your time. Oh, and while Sam's pulling that up, at the end of that position description, it also has the deadline to apply, as well as what's required to apply. So a cover letter, a resume, and a writing sample, and also gives a point of contact and an email for questions. Just want to flag that. So next, you're going to want to develop a very transparent hiring process. So a key to transparency and equity in hiring is to make sure that you have the same process for every single candidate. So for this hiring process, it's better to set up your first interview by Zoom or by phone and offer realistic times for a student schedule. So, don't assume that an intern is able to meet in person in the middle of the school day. Offer several times, maybe 3 to 4 times during the week or the weekend when you have capacity to do an interview, and so could the student. Think about disability accommodations for your interviewees. So enabling closed captions on Zoom, for example. From the start, ask the candidate their preferred pronouns, she, him, or they. And then evaluate the candidate based on their experience, their interest, and the strength of their application, not by their level of education, current school, or physical presentation. So a couple of things about that. We all have our own biases when it comes to everyone, right? And when you're hiring someone, you could be really easily swayed by seeing that they went to an Ivy League school, for example, or maybe they look like someone you know. You want to be really careful about that and really evaluate the candidate based on their passion, based on their skills, based on their cover letter and how they made it align with their own mission and values and those of the league, and their skill set. So really thinking about if you feel like you're developing a preference for one candidate or the other, really identify, why that might be and make the best, the best hire for your league based on the most qualified candidate. And then next, I suggest keeping your interview to 30 minutes. And it should be really professional. So it might be easy to come in and kind of be overly familiar, but remember that this is a job. And you're going to want to set the tone for your intern from the get-go. This is a professional experience for this intern. So have your questions ready, be on time. And if the interviewee doesn't do the same thing, be on time, wearing a, clean professional outfit, and maybe they're not taking it, as seriously as you are. So look for those things. Ask the intern how the experience can benefit their future. This is one of my favorite questions to ask, our candidates. So it really speaks to, I think, how closely they've read the job description, how much research they've done about the league. If they can clearly articulate how the internship or fellowship experience aligns with their goals. So if they're getting a policy degree and they really want experience doing policy research on behalf of a nonprofit, that's a clear alignment and a clear commitment to the position. And definitely leave time at the end to have your candidate ask questions. To me, if I leave time to ask questions and the candidate has no questions, that's really a red flag for me. That shows that the candidate didn't really prepare for the interview, didn't really think too strategically about the position and how it applies to them. Even if the question is something as simple as, what are your goals for your organization? And even if it's not necessarily about the position, that shows your candidate came prepared. We're also, in terms of specific interview questions themselves, the State League is happy to provide some sample interview questions. We've hired multiple rounds of fellows at this point, and I think we've developed a really great, clear, transparent hiring process. And that's part of transparency as well, making sure that you ask all the candidates who apply for your job the same questions, so that you can thoughtfully evaluate each interview candidate based on the same information. Next slide. So payment for fellows or internships. So according to the Fair Labor Standards Act, nonprofit and government agencies are not required to pay interns. So this is the law. And if your league just simply doesn't have any resources available to pay your interns, that's one thing. But we really don't recommend this just as an issue of equity. So studies show that non-paid, unpaid internships overwhelmingly benefit white and wealthy young people who can afford to, work for free, whether that's because they have support from their parents or they just come from a wealthier background. Those are the kind of experiences that will skew, who actually applies for your fellowship, your internship, who's able to actually take it. So there's a couple of options to ensure that all qualified candidates, have a fair shot at taking your position. The first option is to work with a university to offer your internship for credit. So a couple of our fellows have done this, as part of their master's degree, undergraduate degree. They're required to take some kind of internship position as part of their coursework. So if they're receiving, credit from school for their time with you, that's a great compromise. The other option is to offer a small stipend. So the state league offers our interns a stipend of $2,000 for the semester. So that's 4 months of work. And if you really break it down by hour, it's way less than minimum wage, but it is something to really show that we value their contributions to the league. And we issue the stipend in 2 payments, one halfway through their semester and one at the end. And the way that the National League and this Pennsylvania State League are moving towards, we hope to be able to continue to offer pass-through grants to our local leagues to support different initiatives like this. So for example, in 2023, we hope to again offer the Building Equity is Local pass-through grant program and the Voter Services pass-through grant program. And funding an internship with those grants is a really great option for using those resources. $2,000 might be quite a lot for your league, and the amount is really up to your discretion. But I want to just point out that those opportunities are available for you if you'd like to use them to fund an internship program. Next slide. Did it skip one, Stam, or this is it? Questions? Oh, wait, no, okay, never mind. All right, so first we're going to spotlight Sam Anthony. You can go back, Sam. So before we go into questions and discussions, I just wanted to bring, you all know Sam Anthony. She's our fantastic membership and operations associate. And before Sam was a full-time staff member, she was actually an intern with us, a fellow with us. So Sam, I'd love if you could just kind of share your experience, with the league as a fellow. What drew you to the position? What did you like, or you're welcome to share what you didn't like too about the position, just to give folks kind of a clear example of what makes things like this successful. So I'm going to just spotlight you.
Great. I think you, oh, okay. I am spotlighted. I spotlit myself and then it got taken off. That's great. Well, hi, I am Sam Anthony. As Meg said, I'm a staff member with the league. But before that, I was a fellow. And I guess starting with what drew me to the position. I mean, first off, I graduated from grad school into the middle of a pandemic. And like Meg said, going back to that issue of equity, it's not very often that you see graduate level or undergrad fellowships or internships that are paid. So, just that in particular was a really nice draw. and also the fact that it just kind of aligned with a bunch of really interesting areas for me. My master's is in public policy, so I was really interested in sort of seeing how the non-government side of policy advocacy and communications and civic education works. And I definitely have gotten that. So that's been really exciting. And also just, it's right there in the name, like an organization that's so committed to voting rights and rights for women, just was really exciting to work for. And it was, the fact that it's a Pennsylvania-based organization was really nice, especially coming out of school in PA with a program that was very sort of PA policy focused. It all kind of like lined up really well, which was really exciting. And I have had quite a few internships before my fellowship with the League. And, I might be a little bit biased, but this was my favorite one. It was definitely, what I think was really interesting and exciting about it is that it so closely mirrored a fully, quote unquote, professional, like real job. Like it was just such a nice step into the professional world. And the other thing that was really exciting was that I really felt like my voice was heard and my opinions mattered, and, my insight was asked for. I think, you hear that cliche about, interns just going to get people coffee, but that definitely isn't the case with the League fellowship at the state level. And I don't think it would be the case with a local League fellowship, because it's just kind of you're kind of tossed into doing some really cool projects. And that the work you're doing is helping to support the capacity of the organization, which was really exciting. And then, just to keep harping on it and sing the praises of the League. I think the other thing that was really exciting, and I think this is something to think about if and when you hire interns, is that the network that I've been able to create and to foster from working at the League has been really exciting. I've met so many people and gained so many connections, just both personally and professionally, that have been really great. And I like to kind of joke that the board and everybody I meet at the League is just aggressively supportive in me and my career, and sending me opportunities and getting me involved with stuff. So that is really exciting, and that's something that I really think on the flip side of being someone who's running an internship is a really great opportunity for you to do for young women or young people that you hire, is sort of help provide them with those opportunities and networks and experiences. And yeah, I think it's just kind of its own greatest example that I was able to then just start working with the League in a full-time capacity, which has been really, really wonderful. So yeah, that's my League experience.
You, Sam. Such nice reflections. All right, so we did actually skip one slide, Sam. I went back, so go back 2. There it is. So, sorry to go back to more of the nitty gritty after such inspirational words from Sam, but, you do all this work to create your internship description. And if you don't share it or don't put it in the right places, no one's going to see it. So just a couple of tips for sharing your internship description. The first place that you should absolutely put it is on your website. And while you're at it, while you're updating your internship description and putting it on your website, make sure your website is also up to date with upcoming events, with photos, with the current board, because that's the first impression that you'll make on a potential intern. So if, an intern goes to your website and they see that, it still has election dates from 2021, they're going to think, okay, maybe this isn't the most, active organization, or, maybe they're not, relevant in the election space. So make sure that, your website is up to date and that your position description lives on it. Secondly, there's so many educators in the League network, and there's likely educators within, your membership. So it's sharing the opportunity with university or high school teachers that will go miles, because those connections will be really able to share it with their student and to speak with their students about the value of the league on a more personal level. So definitely share it to any educators that you know. Share it on social media. The league at the state level has had great success sharing our job descriptions on LinkedIn and on Instagram. LinkedIn, obviously, because it's a professional networking space, and Instagram because that's where young people are and that's where they see things that we post. So really important to make sure that it's shared widely there. And lastly, Handshake is really a really important tool to get to know. So this is a job posting platform that mostly, pretty much almost every university in Pennsylvania uses. So it's a big centralized hub for university students to find jobs and internships. So basically you create a Handshake account, which is totally free, and you put your position description, all the deadlines to apply on Handshake, and then you can apply for different schools to accept it and to share it with their students. So if you know, for example, that you want an intern that's based in Southwest PA or Pittsburgh, you can click Carnegie Mellon, Pitt, and any other, Pittsburgh area schools to have it shared, or you can share it statewide if, this is going to be a mostly virtual experience and your intern can work from home from anywhere. So definitely important to use that tool, especially if you're looking to hire a college student. And with that, I think I will just see if there's any questions. Heather, you're our audience member. So feel free to ask any questions now. But we will be recording this, and any viewers who have additional questions can feel free to email me or Sam. Heather, how did all that land for you? Do you have any questions? Oh, you're muted.
I think that was a very good presentation. I appreciate that. And I do not have the position up on the Leaks Sale website. So, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, that's probably the first place people are going to go, and the place that they'll learn the most about your work. So I think that's definitely important. All right. Sam, have I missed anything? Should we talk about anything else before we close off this recording and call it a day?
I don't think so. I think we're good. Yeah, and this will be I guess it'll be up on the website tomorrow. And we will pass it on to more people to watch. But
sounds good. All right. Well, thanks, Heather, for joining us, and thanks, Sam, for being here to share your experience. Appreciate you both. Have a good one.
Bye.